Hey everybody, Michael Govier here from the Hey It's Enrico Palazzo Fantasy Baseball Podcast, part of the RotoFanatic Podcast Network. Welcome in. Don't forget, we are Palazzo Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah, give me two.
Give me two, Gary Busey. Every time, give me two. I want to talk about FAAB bids here. Let's get right to the heart of it. No bullshit, no screwing around. Let's just get into it. Lot of action over the weekend. So many decisions to make already. Who are you going to take? Who don't you want to give up on just yet? Brady Singer, Kansas City Royals, had a rough outing Sunday against the Texas Rangers. Disappointing for me because I believe very much in Singer's abilities. Plus, he's got that mentality. Some players have it. He's a bulldog on the mound. And you got to factor that in when you're doing your analysis. And I very much believe that not only does he have the tools, yes, he needs to develop a third pitch and work on his arsenal, but he also has the mentality to be a number one ace of the staff. So I would hold firm, not get panicked on Brady Singer. My overall message here, don't get panicked.
I'm jacked to the tits.
We can't have panic on the streets. This is only the opening weekend. And for those of you in head-to-head leagues, you should have the extended 10 or 11 day version that goes all the way through next weekend. Or for those of you that are in roto leagues with weekly FAAB bids that go through on Sunday nights, this is time to make decisions. And I would tread lightly. Closer wise, we got a mess. We got Adam Ottavino comes in after Matt Barnes, even though the Orioles are smoking them today in an 11-3 ball game. So I don't know if that gives you guys any insight because it's not a safe situation whatsoever. Rafael Montero came in Saturday night in a 4-0 game. He went in the 8th inning, and then he finished the 9th to get a save. So I think Montero looks rock solid as the closer. Jordan Romano of the Blue Jays comes in the 8th inning against the Yankees on Sunday, and Julian Merryweather gets the save. That's 2 saves. That's right.
Utah, give me two.
That's 2. So Merryweather looks to be the closer right now, but I still think it's very much a committee. So I would not drop Romano. Don't panic.
I'm jacked to the tits.
And for those of you that are holding on to the Orioles, Cesar Valdez, I would not ride that train too long. In fact, I would be happy dropping him or trading him if somebody's really desperate for a closer. In fact, trading would be the first preference there. Cesar Valdez will not be the closer by May of this team. It's going to be Tanner Scott or someone else. Cesar Valdez is a 36-year-old journeyman. He's gotten 2 saves on a team that is rebuilding. He's 36 years old. If anything, the only way I see this scenario playing out for him that benefits him is if he does well and they want to use him as a trade chip at the deadline. That would be the worst case scenario for those of you that were planning on Tanner Scott being the guy. But I still believe Tanner Scott's going to get the opportunities. There's going to be other opportunities for other bullpen arms with the Orioles. So sell high on Valdez now. And if you want to drop him for somebody else, I don't really have an issue with that. I think that'd be a fine idea. Otherwise, the bullpens are chaos and crazy. People who spent big money on relievers already in the draft season, I think you made a mistake. I think going high on guys like Josh Hader, Liam Hendricks, he didn't look so good in his first outing for the Chicago White Sox. And I got to tell you, I just don't see the benefit of drafting closers in the first 100 picks. I never have. I never will. Long way to go on this season. A lot to be discovered still. But if Liam Hendricks struggles, and he really struggles for a while, what if he loses his job? And then you paid a top 60 draft pick for a guy who doesn't have the job that you drafted him for. That's pretty nutty. So consider those options next year. Write this stuff down. As the year goes along, write down these notes that you learn. They will help you. I guarantee you it'll be a benefit to you because you can come back to this stuff. Because you're going to forget a lot of this. It's a long-ass season. It's only April 4th. Long way to go. And by the way, happy Easter to those of you out there that observe. Good times. So I talked a little bit about some relief situations. I wanted to clarify some guys that I like the most. Diego Castillo in Tampa Bay. He's definitely the guy. This is not hype. If you can acquire Castillo off the wire for a FAAB bid, or if you got to trade for him, I would really consider doing so. I know the Rays like to tinker and change things around, and Pete Fairbanks could be in the mix, Chaz Rowe. They got a lot of pitchers, but I love Diego Castillo. I drafted him late in a lot of my drafts. We're talking like 300 pick or later, yeah. And it's paid off over the weekend with 2 saves. I really think this could be a big year for him. If he gets hurt or something, yeah, that sucks. Anything could happen. You're right. But in terms of who the guy is in Tampa, I think it is absolutely Diego Castillo. And I feel very confident saying that. And I don't always feel confident saying things like that. Yeah, as far as the other relief pitchers you want to take flyers on, I already said Cesar Valdez I'm not interested in. I don't know. Oakland's a mess now with Trevor Rosenthal on the IL. Jake Diekman, Sergio Romo, these players don't get me excited. JB Wendelken, you know, I'm somewhat interested in him, I suppose, but it's kind of a mess right now. And you could take a flyer cheaply. If you could put, you know, $2 on Romo, sure, that's worth it. But if you got to spend a bunch of money to take a flyer on one of these A's relievers, Diekman, to me, has always been more of a specialist. I just don't see Diekman as the closer. He would have to show me otherwise. And if he shows us that, then, you know, I'll eat it. I'll swallow the boot. I was wrong. But I would have to see it first. I'm not so sure what we're seeing in Oakland won't be a mess for a while, really. So if you invested highly in Rosenthal, you're probably like, what do I do? What do I do? And you probably already put in bids, possibly on Diekman, Wendelken, or Romo. Good luck on that. I think it's kind of a mess right now. I'd rather stay away from it. As far as San Francisco's bullpen, San Francisco has had a lot of issues last year. There was the legendary week where Trevor Gott blew like 4 saves that week, like momentously, massively blew those saves. And I still have that in my mind. But Jake McGee's in town now, and he seems to have brought a little bit of stability. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that Jake McGee will be the guy all season. I've always had a lot of doubts about McGee, but I think it's worth taking a flyer on McGee. If he's still available in your league, if he wasn't drafted for some reason, if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, I think putting $5-10 on McGee is not a bad idea at all.
You're not good.
So let's talk about guys I would like to get my hands on. Jonathan India of the Reds. It definitely looks like he's going to play almost every day. Second base. He was a very highly touted first round draft pick, and he's getting the opportunity. I would run. Get your ass to Mars and pick up Jonathan India if he's available in your league. I also like Jazz Chisholm. I like what I've seen from him. That Marlins offense is good. It's rock solid at least. And I watched Jazz really for the first time in great detail over the weekend. He's got a lot of energy, and I think the other players respond to him. He's got that amazing electric blue hair. It's so sweet. It's badass. Best hair in baseball, bar none. So I would also, if you hadn't done already and you were a little skeptical about what Chisholm's role would be, or if he had the hit tool to pull it off, I would get into it. I would be totally down with some Jazz Chisholm. Otherwise, there's a lot of guys I think you should just hold and chill. Just wait. Don't panic. I think selling high on Byron Buxton might be a good idea because you never know when he's going to get injured next. That's somebody you can panic about. He's had a tremendous start. He's hitting third in the lineup. He's got a couple of bombs, some steals already. It looks very promising. But you know that injury is coming. So, you know, in a redraft league, I would definitely sell high on him and try to get a nice haul in return now. I say go, make the move, get out now. Marcus Semien looks fantastic in Toronto. That's just a side note. Wanted you guys to make sure, if you have the chance to acquire him, I think he's going to have a monster year. And when he gets that second base eligibility be combined with the shortstop eligibility, that's double bonus for you. That just kind of came to my head. Other players you could consider adding to your roster, Nate Lowe, not Brandon Lau. Nate Lowe. Get Nate Lowe. He's had a great weekend. He had a 3-run home run today against the Royals. He's been hitting the crap out of the ball. Go get Nate Lowe if he's on your free agent wire. Put in a FAAB bid. I would say for Nate Lowe, if you need a quarter infielder, depending on your roster size and what type of league you're in, I'd be willing to spend 10% FAAB on Nate Lowe. I really like Nate Lowe a lot. 10% of your entire budget. I think he was somebody I already liked in the preseason, but I was talked out of by some people that I respect, which will happen. You know, when you have conversations about players over and over, you do a podcast like we do on the Hey, it's Enrico Palazzo Fantasy Baseball Podcast, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on players. And that's why it's hard to stay true to your own view and data points, because you're going to get countering points that will make you question things. And that's healthy. It's good to question things. But I think Nate Lowe, even though there's a long way to go here, I really like him this season. And I also like David Dahl on that Rangers squad. David Dahl, always injured. I just said trade Buxton now while you can. Maybe that holds true to Dahl as well. But Dahl doesn't have that same cachet that Buxton has, so you're not going to get the same return. The Buxton name, highly regarded, legendary, right? David Dahl, middle of the road, not highly as regarded as Buxton is, but still a very reliable hitter. When healthy, he's pretty damn good. He's just always hurt. So if Dahl's available on the free agent wire, I would definitely take a flyer on him. I wouldn't drop people like Nick Senzel or all the Mets and Nationals that are weighing down your roster right now. That's another thing, too.
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Because all the Nationals and Mets players that did not play, and they weighed down your roster, you don't know what you're going to get from some of them yet. And the borderline players that you would drop if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, I don't know, like a Carl Schwarber, something like that, you got to see what you're going to get. So unfortunately, I don't think you could cut bait without seeing what you get from some of those players. So as far as the Nats-Mets situation goes, the whole COVID nightmare, you just got to hold tight for now. That would be my best piece of advice to you at this time. However, you're free to do whatever the hell you want, of course. I'm just a man talking about fantasy baseball. What the hell do I know? I play the game, you play the game. At the end of the day, we all make our own choices, and we're all responsible for them. The more you know. Anyways, yeah, I love Nate Lowe and I love David Dahl, but I know David Dahl's going to get hurt. If somebody would trade for David Dahl in your league right now, I would make that move. I would go running for it. Bad news on BRYAN HAYES. You might be looking for a third base replacement. Or, like I said, if it's corner infield you're looking for, Nate Lowe is a perfect replacement for BRYAN HAYES. But if you actually need a third baseman specifically, Jonathan India does qualify at third base, like I said, so that's a double bonus. He's playing second. He's a third baseman in most leagues. That's good news. Double eligibility from India. It only increases the excitement of his profile. Another guy who was really highly underdrafted is Luis Urias of the Milwaukee Brewers. Pick him up. This is a guy who's eligible at second, third, and shortstop. Triple eligibility. That's fantastic. Plus, he's a really highly touted prospect, and the Brewers are going to want to see what they get from him. Today, he had a nice little game where he got 2 walks and he got a base hit. That's the kind of guy he is. In OBP leagues and points leagues where walks count more, Urias value goes even further. But even in standard issue 5x5 roto leagues, head-to-head leagues, category leagues, I have Urias in my home league. I drafted him, and I very much believe he's going to be a rock-solid player, and you'll get a lot of return on investment from him. He's still young, and even though Arcia is there, and they got other infielders in the mix, don't worry about that. They want Urias to succeed. Trust me. So if you need a BRYAN HAYES replacement, I think Luis Urias is the perfect replacement for Mr. Hayes, which is, it's very sad what happened to him. Real bummer. Other options, Yandy Diaz. He was hitting the crap out of the ball in spring training, and he looks to be doing the same again opening weekend. I like Yandy Diaz. I watched a couple of his at-bats over the weekend. He was crushing the ball. Even when he got outs, he hit the hell out of it. I think he could have a nice little breakout this season. And he is very, very under the radar right now. In terms of how much he's owned, the percentage, depending on what league you're in, it's very, very low. On NFBC, he's only 2% owned, which blows my mind. I'm looking at that right now. And Asdrubal Cabrera is another option, quarter infielder. He's going to be playing most every day, it looks like. He's got a lot of playing time, and he's always undervalued, but he's very serviceable. So those are some options I would throw your way. One more, too, Rio Ruiz, who was playing at second base as well for Baltimore, usually a third baseman. Here's another guy that could fill the gap for BRYAN HAYES while he's on the shelf. So, injuries will happen. They're a bummer. They're always going to be a part of baseball, right? We have to deal with them and make adjustments. So those are some of the possibilities, some people I'd like to recommend to you. As far as my Tigers outfield, I want to mention that there's a lot of chaos in the Tigers outfield with Badu, Mazzara, Reyes, Jones. And Robbie Grossman is just walking like crazy. So that's real chaos. And the truth is there's no clear insight into who will end up getting most of the playing time. I expect that to be a mess for the first 6 weeks of the season. So don't make any assumptions about a player you want to target out of that entire outfield, because all of them seem to be making things happen. Mazzara hit a home run, and Robbie Grossman's walked like 5 or 6 times. He's been on a roll. It's just going to take some time for clarity. Eventually, Jacoby Jones will get hurt. It'll happen. And Akil Baddoo, though, if he's the guy, the Rule 5 pick, because he's got to stay on the roster, he's got to perform. If he keeps performing, hit a home run today, then maybe he really will get more playing time. Had a hell of a spring, so he's growing and he's showing something. Keep an eye on Baddoo. That's the name in there. That's the real wild card in that Tigers outfield. Chris Flexen. Who's Chris Flexen, you say? Seattle Mariner starting pitcher. Gave 5 rock-solid innings in a win on Saturday night over the Giants. 5 innings, 6 Ks. Didn't give up any earned runs. This guy was over in the KBO, and he kind of reimagined himself, right? Brought back a breaking ball to go with his fastball, and he looked real good. He looked great in spring, and his first outing was rock solid. Good enough to get him the victory. So if you're looking for a starting pitcher to take a flyer on, I like Chris Flexen. I'm very much interested in what he will produce going forward. I'll keep my eye on him. I would like to see another start for him, but I am digging the profile and the results that he's been getting recently. So Chris Flexen, that's a deep league starting pitcher flyer that you can take a chance on, and I don't think it'll be that big of a risk. I really don't. Boy. As far as any other bids this week, there's a lot of players that I'm just still uncertain of what we should do. So my big goal here is hang tight. I gave you some names for injury replacements on Brian Hayes, some players I like overall. But for right now, I think you just got to chill. You just got to hang tight and say, you know what? There's a lot that we don't know yet about this season, and we got to take our time and give it another week. So this week's FAAB bids, I would go lightly. Take your time, because there's a lot more bids coming up. A lot more Sundays just like this. We'll be going over players that we going to go that route? Or are we going to bid, $50, $100? How big is your budget? All of these things are in consideration. How big your budget is. Don't blow your load too soon. Tread lightly, because in the end, there's going to be more opportunities. We got prospects that'll be coming up after the 2 weeks or so window passes, where they can get another year of eligibility sucked out of their players. Then the front offices will start bringing up guys like Nico Horner and Carter Kieboom and so on and so forth. So remember that. You're going to want those guys. If they're on your wire right now as free agents, you're waiting for that opportunity to bid on them. And that'll come in the next couple of weeks. So remember, take it easy, pace yourself, and enjoy the ride.